Hey guys, Tyler here, and this is the Garage Warrior podcast and video cast, and I'm super excited today to have on the call with me Neghar. How's it going, Neghar?
Hi, it's going really well. Thank
I
you.
usually say people's last names, but I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Fonooni. Just
Fonooni.
yeah,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
lot of O's and N's.
A lot of O's and N's.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, thanks so much for coming on the call today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us. And for people who don't know who you are, Neghar, maybe you can give us like a 50,000-mile view of who you are, how you came to get there, and what you're hoping to teach people.
All right. I am a lifestyle and fitness expert, primarily in the area of women's fitness and wellness. I am the founder of a website called Eat, Lift, and Be Happy. And that is essentially where all of my other ventures have stemmed from, is the idea that you can eat and lift and be happy, eat mindfully, and lift intuitively and live joyfully, and sort of just spreading that message to women around the world that like exercise and nutrition doesn't have to be stressful, it can be drama free, it can be fun, it can be a lifestyle. So from that, I co-founded a website called Girls Gone Strong. And that is it's a movement to really help women understand why it's important to be strong and to really kind of give them the basics of how to get started in that realm. It's more of a support group. I've also co-founded a yearly event called the Radiance Retreat with two other women in the industry, and it's a 40 women only intimate experience designed to help enrich your fitness and wellness adventure, essentially. And those are probably the three biggest things that I have going on right now. But ultimately, the theme of that is just teaching women that it's okay to love yourself right now, that it's okay to be successful, that you are worthy. And while you're doing that, I can teach you how to get fit and how to eat in a way that you can sustain, but do it while loving yourself as opposed to hating yourself.
That's fantastic. You know, the reason why I wanted to have you on the call, Neghar, is because you have a very powerful message to deliver. And there's a lot of women out there that are just skewed by this mainstream BS that's you got to eat this low calorie, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, and you got to do all this cardio and everything. So what do you do with somebody when they walk in with that mindset? What's the first shift you try to make on someone who walks in your doors or gets some coaching from you or whatever, and I got to do more cardio, more, I got to eat less, less, less. What do you do with those people?
Well, honestly, I try to get people to understand what it is that they actually enjoy doing.
Sure.
So that's a big part of it because there isn't really a secret, right? Like lifting works and cardio in some capacities, like not necessarily the traditional sense, but cardio works and low carb works and high protein works. Like all these different things work, but what really works is what works for you, what you actually find enjoyment in. So I try to get them to understand like, well, you've been hearing that, oh, you have to do a lot of cardio or you have to do this low calorie diet, but do you like doing those things? And more often than not, they don't. So it's really about getting people to understand that the best way to get fit is by finding something that not only works, but that you really enjoy. And it kind of just takes away the idea that you should be doing all these really detrimental things because they automatically don't enjoy those things.
Right. I feel you. Yeah, I'm not a long distance runner by any means.
I know people that are and people that love it and they also lift. And I've trained a lot of endurance athletes and their endurance sports are really just complemented by their lifting
Sure.
regimen. And there's nothing wrong with doing cardio. And I think that's like something that's like this stigma that cardio has received is there's nothing
Sure.
wrong with doing cardio. It's just you got to do it for the right reasons. Do it because you love it. Do it because it's your sport. You do it because it's like your meditation or whatever it is. But also keep in mind that it's not the most powerful fat loss tool,
Sure.
and it's not going to help you sustain muscle, and you need to do some sort of lifting on top of it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, I had a conversation with Joel Jameson recently. I don't know if you're familiar with Joel, but he really twisted my mind around different types of cardio thoughts because, I was kind of leaning towards more of the high intensity stuff, which I still enjoy,
Yeah.
high power output exercise. But he's like, what about putting in the groundwork? Because all of his fighters do 40, 60, 90-minute, like long duration cardio sessions because they need that superior endurance. So I've been doing some more stuff like that recently.
Yeah,
And it does complement your lifting, and lifting
it does.
complements that as well. So
Yeah.
that brings me to strength, Neghar. The first time I met you was in Minnesota at a CKFMS seminar with Gray Cook and Pavel
Yeah.
and all those folks. And I walked in there, and you're doing a Turkish get-up with a 70-pound kettlebell, right? And you don't find a lot of guys who can do that, and you certainly don't find a lot of
Yeah.
ladies who can do that. So how important do you think strength training is, especially for women?
I think strength training for women is important, not just from a physical standpoint, but from like a more esoteric standpoint as well. So physically, you know, that look that most women are going for, that fit looking, that like toned, muscular look, that happens through weight training.
Right.
And it happens through strength. It doesn't happen necessarily through cardio. It doesn't happen through like group fitness classes. You know, step class is still a thing. I didn't realize that was still.
It exists. Say it ain't so.
I was at a gym recently and there were like 50 women in there, and I was like, crap, this is like still a thing. Like,
it's insane.
I really just couldn't realize it. So like those things like that, I mean, sure, they're fun and you'll burn, you know, you'll burn calories and you'll work up a sweat, but it's not going to build that muscular foundation,
Sure.
which is really what women are looking for, whether they know it or not. You know, that lean, fit look starts with muscle, and you have to have that foundation. And then the more muscle you have, the more fat your body is going to burn. Like, you turn your body into a fat burning machine by lifting weights. And esoterically, it's really important because it's super empowering.
Sure.
Like, for me, being able to do a 70-pound Turkish getup, like, that makes me feel like I can do anything.
Sure.
You know, the first time I did an unassisted pull-up, I was like, holy crap, if I can pull myself up over this bar, like, what else can I do? And
Right.
so it really opened a lot of doors for me. Yeah, it gave me a lot of courage in my career, in my personal life, and really helped me regain my confidence and get back to being me, like reclaim my life, as opposed to previously, you know, having a lot of body image issues, having a lot of confidence issues. You know, I'd gone through a divorce and I was living 3,000 miles away from my family, and just really kind of lost myself and found myself again through strength.
That's fantastic. I love how you approach that from like a mental perspective, because what it does is just shatters the walls of what you believe you can do. And when you ask yourself that question that you just said, if I can do this, what else can I do?
Right.
It's so powerful. And for men and women, it doesn't have to be anybody in a focus. Like, if you just do something that you never thought you could do, it opens the doors to what you think you can do in the future. And that's such
Absolutely.
a fantastic thing. You mentioned negative self-image that a lot of ladies have.
Yep.
What's your take on this bullshit that's out there? I mean, come on, like you're a female. I'm obviously not a female. Like, what's your take on this? Like, how are we going to fix this, Neghar?
It's really hard. It's really hard because it's deep rooted, and it's so far into mainstream media that even when it's not intentional, it still has that same effect.
Right.
You know, so we look at magazines and you see, like, even when it's an article that is about women's strength,
right,
the stock photos that they use, you look at those pictures and you're like, that doesn't appropriately represent what you're talking about.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with it's like this vicious cycle of like, well, we have to give the readers what they want, right? And that's how a lot of mainstream media is. Like, we have to give our readers what they want, but they won't read that because it's too different. It's not what they're used to, but we can't make any change unless we give them something that they're not used to. Yeah. So even when you are reading those magazines that are talking about women's strength, the images that you're looking at are so far beyond what might be capable for you, because everybody's body is completely different.
Right.
You know, we could do the exact same program and be on the exact same diet and develop totally differently. So I think that the media is a big problem, you know, celebrities, like all this, like this whole world of like, this is what you're supposed to look like is a big problem. But there are a lot of people and women in particular, women entrepreneurs and women authors, that are starting to bump up against that paradigm. You look at people like Brene Brown or Byron Katie, these people who do a lot of like healing in particular for women and teaching women that you're worthy right now. You're not 15 pounds from now, or, you know, or you're not going to be worthy because of this diet or because of this number on the scale. Like, you are worthy right now of love and belonging. And I think as long as we keep pushing that message, we'll certainly be able to bump up against that paradigm.
And that's fantastic that ladies like you and some of these other ladies you're speaking about are just talking about this as a perceptive issue, right? It's like, I think that I'm unworthy because. But the reality is, you just think that you're unworthy. And you can change that paradigm if you have the ability to empower yourself to do so. How do people do that?
You know, I think it takes a lot of practice.
Sure.
In the book I just wrote, the Lean and Lovely book I just wrote, each phase of the training manual has a corresponding mindset practice. And I put that in there because I want women to simultaneously practice changing their mindset. Not like, well, I'll lift weights, I'll lose weight, I'll get on this diet, and then I'll work on changing my mindset.
Sure.
It has to be a daily practice. It has to be something that you do all the time, every day, until it becomes habit. You know, it's like the 10,000 hours rule, right? Like
Right.
you're not an expert at anything until you've done it for 10,000 hours. Like you're not going to be an expert, so to speak, on loving yourself unless you practice doing it all the time.
Right.
So for me, it was actually a really sort of enlightening experience when I realized that all of my problems stemmed from the fact that I didn't automatically love myself. It was always like conditional. And I had to think about it all the time. So I started that mantra, like, I will automatically love myself. And I said it to myself every day. And I had conversations with myself in my head. Like anytime something negative came up, any sort of like negative self-talk, I counteracted it almost like it was a different person with, no, like, you are awesome. I love you. It's okay. And it sounds really weird, right? Like nobody wants to go in front of the mirror and be like, I love you. But when you start doing that and you get over the fear of like feeling weird about it, it really does become a practice and it does help change that perception.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I mean, habits are so critical. I just recently wrote a book called The 27 Body Transformation Habits You Can't Ignore. And the reason why I did it is I created all these strength programs and diet programs and stuff. And when running body transformation challenges, the one thing I noticed, it was that the tiny little habit changes that they made that sustained, that lasted beyond the body transformation challenge.
Right.
You know, I'm just kind of sick of seeing people like lose weight and gain weight and lose weight and gain weight on the cycle because they're like, I'm going to get motivated and go hard. And then they just do that for 30 days, but they didn't change who they were up here inside their heads. That's powerful. I love how everybody's kind of shifting their focus from just like, hey, follow this exercise program to like, let's change your life.